my jacket for you. So at least I have that opportunity whilst we're all in this situation, working from home in our pajamas most oftenly. It's great to do this for once. I want to talk about the future of augmented digitization, but it's really more about a transformation of HR, and specifically I'm focused on HR operations and HR, the service and support capability. So I know there is a lot to say about other HR elements like business HR or how do we support and manage and transition the talent in the organization, and this is all to support that area. But I want to ensure that we know that this is not everything. It's just a small piece of HR, but I hope that this gives you an opportunity to think about it more broadly and utilize some of the learnings that we've had going, in other areas of HR as well. Secondly, I think it's one story of one journey, and it's for one company. So it might be for your company, it's very different. But I still hope that a number of these elements you can take away and say, yeah, this is actually interesting for me and for my company, and it actually fits, or I've learned something from that. Again, I don't have the wisdom, but hopefully there are some good nuggets in here. So HPE is a remaining organization, you would say, from the previous Hewlett Packard, and you've all know Hewlett Packard used to be an organization with 400,000 people globally. Up until 3 years ago, we still had some 300,000 people when we spun off our services business. You can imagine HR operations for 300,000 people is something different than the 60,000 people that we have now. As well as that, the HR organization was busy for 3 years, only focused on spinning off multiple businesses and organizations. So we were in a situation 3 years ago when we as a leadership team of the people operations organization looked at our group. We were in a situation where we hadn't invested in HR service and HR support for many, many years. There was basically a team that was focused on supporting those spin-offs, not so much on looking at customer, customer, not having a customer focus, and really in a state of seeing this large organization in some way or another getting smaller and smaller with big processes, complex processes, and not focused on what employees needed. We also didn't invest in digitization very much. I think we were a reasonably centralized HR organization simply because of the size that we had. It was natural that we did that, but not very deeply centralized. I think we had a number of processes that we were able to do in the centers, but not fully efficient and effective all over. So we were in that situation, and what we did at that time as a leadership team is it was time for a change. It was time to really think through this differently. Obviously, lots of cost pressures following all those spins, lots of focus on how to reduce the headcount in the organization. So not a very nice place to be at that time. So what we said is, let's go out and talk to others, understand where HR is going in the next couple of years and whether that would be relevant for us, much like you're doing now. Benchmarking, going out, going to these kind of seminars, courses, workshops, talking to consultants, vendors. We did a lot of that, and we came back into the room, and we decided on taking more or less the picture from Gartner that you see here is, we anticipate that there will be some model changes in HR. There will be less operational work in business partner roles. They will focus more on talent going forward. We need more agility in the HR organization when a company will have much faster need for solving their problems from an HR perspective. Rather than us planning for the year, we need to kind of plan for the quarter, and that will then even change on a rapid basis every month. And we actually have experienced that in the last half year, I would say. Um, and therefore, we need to provide some agile support, and we have to have more nimbler centers of expertise that basically only come up with the strategies, with the benchmarking, and then have an operations team that really does it further for itself. You want to involve analytics more. Tom said it just a minute ago. Tom said it. I'm still hearing some on the background, but I keep on going. So Tom said it, analytics is becoming more important, and we see that as well. But first of all, we needed to build a different operations and service delivery team. Um, So I think what is important here to realize is that now we are 60,000 people worldwide in 50 plus countries. I have a team that supports learning and development services, mergers and acquisition services, all the centralized HR services, HR systems, labor relations, compliance, and data privacy in HR. So quite a large and wide scope of teams, and we had to find what we have in common. And one thing that we have in common is that we want to provide excellent service to our team members, and we want to do it as agile as possible. And we want to ensure that they have a personalized feeling with HR going forward. And we know that that can only be done through a digitized manner. So we came up with this vision, which was at the time a Vision 21. So if you think about begin 2018, we had a 3-year vision. In 2019, we actually changed that to a Vision 22. And there we said we will focus on what we need to do is take away work from business partners so they can focus on their strategic area of talent. We need to ensure that people have a feeling of personal interaction with HR if they work through systems, because we won't have those all those HR capabilities on the ground anymore, where people just walk up to and ask a question or feel that that is the HR person they meet in the flesh. It's just not possible given the size and the number of sites to ensure that there's an HR person everywhere. So we said we need to have the digital tools, and we call that first of all a portal that kind of puts everything together for HR and is personalized. So people recognize themselves. Every morning when I pop up my PC, it says, "Hello, Addie, how are you? I see today you have these things planned. Next week's your travel. Your ticket is here. Don't forget to download your payroll this month, etc., etc." Or I see that you have a voucher for your home office. Click here and you will get to the voucher. We wanted to have that personal interaction through the digital tools with our team members, and that would be our vision for 21. We said, and this is where the burning platform got created, all HR transactions will be digital. We will not need any person anymore to put data into the system. It will all be self-service. There will be no processing capability anymore needed. You have to imagine at that moment in time, in my HR centers, I had almost 200 people just doing that, keying in data into systems, picking up almost paper files or scanned files of people and keying them into systems. So I basically said at that moment, in 2 years from now, perhaps 3 years from now, we don't need your skills anymore. Don't need your tasks anymore. So that created a real burning platform for those people to really change and to enhance their skills to either still be employed with HPE or be employed but relevant somewhere on the market. Um, and you can see the other elements where we felt those are important, like analytics, like ensuring that we have a proximity with the country so it doesn't all feel central, but we know what happens in the country. We have that close proximity. We understand the labor rules and regulations in each and every country, and we are able to, to think global but act local. Right? So those are some of the things that we envisioned that were needed in the future. One more thing that we put in place at that time is, well, I think we all have a kind of an HR support function that is centralized where people can call in and we manage cases. We said, well, but that seems to be the same thing. It's kind of like gray. It's the same for everyone. We said we need persona-based service lines. So we created a people leader service line. We created a team member that gets hired over that comes in through acquisition service line. We created a service line for external ex-employees that retire or leave the company, but still need to have a connection with us, and so on and so on. We also created what we call open line, which is a line for people that have grievances at work, that have problems with their manager, or have any other kind of issues and want to raise that, but don't necessarily immediately want to make that into a compliance case, an escalation, but want to talk to somebody that helps them, facilitates them through that process, and is their advocate. And we created for that HP Open Line, which obviously fits very well in our portfolio of employee relations, labor relations, and those centralized functions. But I think what we did is not digitization immediately. We created persona-based services for all those kind of personas that we looked into the company without necessarily doing a lot, changing a lot in our infrastructure, other than ensuring that they would be entering through our service access in a different way. So pretty simple actually, but very customer focused. So when we looked at that vision, we said, okay, that means that we need to focus on four main areas. First, that customer experience that I told you already about, the portal and very personalized. Secondly, the service line, so also very customer persona-based experience. Then we said, our HR service needs to be digitized. It needs to allow people to plug and play when we have a problem, which kind of solution they need. Is it a portal? Is it the HRMS? Is it perhaps a robot? Or is it a chatbot? Or is it something else that's technically enabled? We need to be able to have those services. Therefore, we need to invest in our innovation. We need to create space to ensure that we have the tools that allow us to deliver those services in an agile manner when the company needs it. And we need to ensure that we have different skill sets that are the skill sets of the future, our core capabilities. And we need to ensure that people are trained to be able to deliver those core capabilities. I'm going to talk about the core capabilities later. That is the most important thing, I believe, of this entire presentation, but it's important to take you through the journey. So hopefully you're getting through this until we get to that most important part. So I spoke already about customer experience, and you see here the elements that fit into that customer experience. Some of the things that we started later on is we realized that from a reactive organization, because of all those implementation, all those changes that we did, we suddenly became a wanted partner. We were a partner for our COEs or for our business partners, or even for the business, for GRE or for payroll or for other areas to solve their problem. So we created a capability that we call solution consulting, in which we have some very dedicated people that understand systems, but also understand HR, and we've trained them on problem solving. And so now they really are strong at advising customers, first of all, to understand their problem intimately, and then advising them on how to solve that problem, but going a step further and saying, but you might want to also do this, so in the future you don't encounter that problem anymore. So solution consulting is one of the things that we put in place, and that is pretty unique for an operations organization that typically was only meant to deliver a service when asked. And obviously important to understand our HR applications that we have available and have skills towards that. So when you think about the HR services, now as a result of that, we've built a complete portfolio of services that we can deliver. We have learning services that we can deliver, and we deliver those what we call as a service, so basically consumption based. If an organization needs to put a learning capability in place or a training or whatsoever in our team, in our organization, they come to us and say, we need to deliver 20 trainings globally by this time, and these are the trainings. And we say, okay, we can help you with that content, but to do that, you need to pay for our resources. So they don't have to continuously pay for them. They only pay for them when they need it. And that allows them to have a different kind of model in their financial model. They don't necessarily have to take care of the existing cost of the resource. They only have to do it when they need it. And that's a new way of looking at HR as well. In certain areas, I think it's an opportunity that we can deliver. If we have the infrastructure like the learning systems, we can enable that and pull in people from elsewhere to help with delivering those trainings. And then you see all the other services that I spoke about already, that we say these are our capabilities to our customers. If you want, you can have these. We can provide them to you at any time that you come up with a problem or an issue. Important also is to then look at what are the systems that we want to have from a strategic manner by 21. So if you think us back in 2018 and we said we want this portal that is unified and personalized, we want everything to be automated, we want a great customer experience, then you start already to narrow down on the systems that you want to have available and the software that you want to have available. Then you can also start looking at what is the infrastructure that needs to talk to each other in that way. So when you have then investment capability, you don't have to wonder anymore, what do I put in place, what do I buy, because you know it already. You've tested it, you've researched it. It's as soon as you have the money, let's call it that way, you can build it in. And let's be clear, this is an organization that was really getting smaller, not bigger. So my budget didn't get any bigger in the last 3 years. It actually reduced by 40%. And still we were able to implement by all these kind of software and programs that allowed us to build that capability from a digital perspective. And that is really, I think, important to realize. People often say, well, I don't have the budget. I personally think it's about budget management, it's about prioritization, and then you can do things. So I didn't get more money, I got less money, but we invested over the last 2 years in these capabilities. Obviously, I had Workday already implemented, right? That was already there. So when you then think about what our core capabilities is, this is the fourth area that we've been looking at. We said, well, when a customer or when a team or when an individual asks us, what do we do? What will we do for you that delivers an outcome? Then we need to be able to tell them what do we do in these kind of areas. And you can see that that's a lot, that's quite a bit. So if you talk about what are our core capabilities rather than let us deliver your operations for you, you get into a very different dynamic in the organization. The organization suddenly sees you as a proactive, value-added advisor and consultant that solves your problems, rather than saying, I need somebody to manage data for me. Now, you need to do that at the same time, so you can't let that go. Compliance, data management, operations has to function like never before. If you do a glitch and you're on this transformation journey, then everyone comes to you and says, well, stop your transformation because you're letting down on the key things that are operationally needed. So you have to do both. You have to deliver the operations whilst you transform, whilst you reduce costs, and whilst you invest, and whilst your team learns. So that's not easy. It's hard. It's tough work, but I can tell you it's incredibly rewarding when it works and when it functions. When you have that vision. Okay. So let me now tell you about that. What is that? The real transformation, the real core of how to transform at the end of the day. You need to have all those building blocks in terms of your vision and what it means and what are the capabilities that you want to have versus that you had at the time. But then the most important thing starts, and the most important thing is how to change the culture, how to change the skills of your team whilst you're driving that. And it's all about engaging the team, getting them with you on that journey, and then ensuring that they see that we don't leave anyone behind. We don't just, as managers, say that this is where we want to go and we don't have the skills, and if you can't join us, then you're out. We actually say we want everyone with us on that journey. Some might not make it. So we created that burning platform 2 years ago, stating basically we will not do any manual operations anymore. It will all be digitized and automated. Transactions will not be needed anymore in a manual way. So everyone in that or in the organization that was doing those activities understood that if they would continue to just do what they're doing, they wouldn't have a role in the company anymore. So we sat together as a team and we said, okay, we now understand where we want to go in 2 years, 3 years from now. If we understand that, then we also understand what are the skills and the capabilities that we require our talent to have to once we're there. And so it's not about we need to have them right now. No, we need them once we are in that situation that we have those capabilities in place. So can we describe what those skills are? And we started describing them, and we figured out pretty easily actually from just the team meetings on a high level, these are the 4, maybe 5 skills that we feel are really critical important, and that we need to build as well as deliver our future HR organization, HR service. So then we decide, okay, let us build the skills, but do that in a different program. We call that Vision 22 Connect. So it connects the vision to the skills of the people, it connects the people to the vision. And therefore we said we're going to transition and our own people. We're not going to ask others to join us and completely reskill the organization by getting people out and getting other people in. We only look at putting in temporary workers. We call them contingent workers, CWs, if we need it for specialized situations. But other than that, we're going to focus and deliver with our own team, and we're going to transform and scale our own team. And that was critical for that team. So we focused on 4 skills and we put them in practices: technology and innovation, user experience, insights and analytics, and project management excellence. Those were the 4 key skills that we felt are important for us to deliver the future. And we didn't only say these are the 4 skills. We actually make practices of it, led by one of my team leaders. So one of my leaders in my direct team was the sponsor of one of those practices. And they determined, and we determined together, the curriculum of each of those practices, and we only allowed maximum 20 team members to join each of those practices per year. Now, that seems little. Out of 250 people, only 20 could join one practice. But if you look at that together, that's 80 people in 1 year that go through a skill transformation, and it's 160 people in 2 years. So that's pretty significant, makes a significant impact. And they learn completely new skills from what they have had in the past, from our own organization, by our own teams, by the people that are experts in their field in this area. They will learn and they will get taught, and they will have to do it on top of their operational work, sometimes in the evenings, sometimes in the weekends, but they will have to, if they want to continue with the organization, this is what will be needed. As a team, we looked at the curriculum of each of those practices. I personally committed to be joining some of those practices on a regular basis, and we focused and we gave a lot of attention and commitment to getting our teams through these skills transformations. We also measured it. So we looked at how many of those expertises are there, and what have they learned. We ensured that we track how many people went through it from the entire organization, and whether there are still more that needs to be done, or whether we are in good shape, and we can see that we've reached at the end of the 2 years those 160 people. As well as that, we tracked in detail how their skills improved over time. We did every 4 months, we did an assessment by my team leader did that assessment personally with each and every of the practitioners in each of those practices. And then we plotted those into, well, how did those skills actually improve over time, and are they ready to actually be delivering any of those skills on a professional basis. So it wasn't an easy laissez-faire program. We really committed to it. We put a lot of effort in it, and we did it ourselves. Nobody from the outside told us how to do it or gave us training here. In addition, though, we didn't just do that because we knew that every year only 80 people would be in the practices. We ensured that we had other areas to engage with the rest of the organization so they didn't feel excluded at any given time. We did a large number of additional courses, development days, team talks, demos, spoke about all the innovation that was implemented. In fact, I cannot remember in the last 2 years almost 14 days that we didn't in one way or another touch the entire 250 people in one way or another through any of these capabilities. And guess what happened? The team liked it. They actually said to us, in those 2 years, we increased the employee engagement by 10% in that team to 85%, and we increased the people leader index to 95%, also increasing it by 10%. So now we have a very strong, skilled organization that we delivered ourselves as a team, and we were able to transform the capabilities of that team to deliver much better, much more modern, much more agile process capabilities to the organization. If I now have a project in HR, I can put a project manager to it because I have 40 trained project managers on the methodologies and tools that we deploy in HR. And that takes me to another area. Now it becomes important that we have an HR governance, that we know what the priorities are, and that we often review with the HR leadership team whether we are delivering the right projects. You got to imagine, with such an organization, at any given time, I have 150 projects, registered projects running. 150. Now, if we do them all in a different way and we don't register them, we don't prioritize them, it cannot be delivered. So we need to have a governance and a strategic alignment with the HR leadership team that obviously has alignment with the business to ensure that we deliver the right projects in the same way. Now, having 40 project managers now, I can ensure that I have them all registered, all in a tool. We have Medexo running for that, and that we have frequently an HRLT review of the priorities. We also have a release management. We look at what are the active projects in our portfolio, what are the ones that are not yet active, and what are the ones that are leaving the portfolio. So we know when we need to implement and release things. So we actually have built an agenda for our business partners and the HRs that interact with the business to showcase and to communicate this is what will happen at that time, because that's what it says in the release of our projects. So I've tried to sum up a story in a very short time. We had some interruptions and technical issues. I'm sorry about that. I hope there were some nuggets in there that apply to you or could apply to you. I'm happy to obviously see individually if there's any follow-up needed. But I think most importantly, I want you to take away from this story is that if you have a transformation of an organization to do, there are two key things I believe. One is you need to have a vision of that future. How does it look like in 3 years from now? Where is that going? And secondly, you need to take along your team, your own team, on that journey, ensure that they are skilled, that they are capable, and that because of that, and you are leading that and committing to that personally almost every day of your time. And that allows them to engage, and then beautiful things happen. You have a vision, an engaged team that is skilled and capable, nothing can stop you. So hopefully that was an interesting story. I'm going to open it